Eurovision was not supposed to look this way. One by one, countries are stepping away, not in silence but in frustration. What was once a stage of unity has become a map of withdrawals, absences and quiet protests. Eastern Europe is disappearing from the scoreboard, not because it has nothing to say, but because no one is listening. The contest is bleeding participants while Israel sits at the center of a growing divide. The EBU is rushing to fill empty spots to convince the world that everything is fine, but beneath the excuses, the crisis is just impossible to ignore. As 2026 looms, the question is no longer who will win, but who will still be there to compete. Hello, hi, вітаю, dobrodošli, it's your boy, Gotham, your favorite and the most hated Slavic Eurovision correspondent, and I know for a fact the Irish are faking that silly accent. And welcome back to the home of hatred.
Oh, life-changing!
The Eurovision 2026 off-season isn't going quite as calmly and quietly as we expected and are normally used to. It wasn't a fucking reference group, it wasn't a whole conversation around boycotts of countries, it wasn't that one specific broadcaster with their usual shite, it wasn't fucking Intervision. We can never catch a break, can we? The chaos seems to enjoy being a permanent main character within the contest, and it has struck again. Which, fair considering we're soon gonna enter the national final season. Did you know you have 30 minutes? And even with that, we still have no idea what the contest will even look like, with the November Eurovision vote being pushed back to December.
Now they better be removed or else.
What we have all surely seen by now is how, shockingly enough, Eastern European countries, which have been out of the competition for at least 2 years, now are announcing their return to the 2026 contest.
Hey!
Just like that, out of the blue.
Oh yeah, Navy!
And that opens so many questions about who else we might see coming back to Eurovision in Vienna next year, and even opens the broader conversation about the current state of play of the contest and the declining number of countries from Eastern Europe taking a part in Eurovision.
The Village? So I'm like, what the fuck is that?
As you can already tell from this intro and from the very title of this video, in this episode we will be bringing back my favorite video essay style format, and we will be analyzing the withdrawal crisis in Eurovision. Most of you know me as the silly Eastern European yapper that edits his videos like a lunatic or just gets wasted in front of a camera every other week. But in reality, I love making more serious video essays on here, plus what a great topic. I'm infamously Slavic and so are you. You don't have a choice anymore, you will be a Slav by the end of this video. And with that in mind, as always, I'm reminding you that you can always subscribe. We are not a new channel on the Eurovision YouTube scene anymore, but hey.
Hello?
By subscribing and by joining the God to Mental Asylum, you'll be helping me out a lot. And God knows I need a lot of help. If you fancy a good crash out in a video essay style format, deep dive into everything, anything Eurovision, this channel will definitely float your boat. And before we jump right into the yap session we're about to have, I do have to say that Eurovision 2026 is shaping to be quite something. Oh god.
And the madness.
But trust, I have so much in store for you, and most excitingly, I'm thrilled to announce that we are now on Twitch as well. Yes lads, this year you get twice the app.
Who cares? Who cares?
You can go and subscribe over there, because soon we will be doing live streams where we will be doing viewing parties, watching parties of the national finals this year, as well as other exciting stuff too, so please join, please. If not, I'll personally email your grandma, and God knows I'm quite popular with the nuns, so beware. Make sure to support me on Buy Me a Coffee if you can, as well as follow me on social media. All links are in the description. Enough of this, let's commence.
Fuck you!
Now let's move on to the countries that have been absent from Eurovision in recent years, and I have decided to split them in three groups. First we have financial withdrawals, then we have political withdrawals, and last we have temporary non-participation or withdrawals for other reasons.
To the semi-finals.
First, of course, we're gonna kickstart with Group A, financial withdrawals, and we are first hitting Bulgaria. Let's kickstart with the enigma of Eurovision, the powerhouse that once was but isn't anymore. Obviously, infamously, I'm Bulgarian and of course I'm gonna feel some type of way towards our entry, some type of attachment. And do not try to call patriotism or nationalism. Trust, I'm the furthest thing away from a Bulgarian nationalist. Do not put me in the same box as them, those candidates for euthanasia. Arguably, however, we were the shit in our last years in the contest. From the beginning, Bulgaria had a very rocky path in Eurovision, with some questionable ass entries in the mix.
Trash and scum.
So it was no surprise that from the debut of the country till 2013, it only reached the final once.
Thank God.
And I'm willing to die on this hill as many other Eurofans, but Sofia Marinova should have made that final. That was xenophobia at its finest. Anyways, Bulgaria withdrew in 2013 for 3 years up until its comeback in 2016. If you Google what the perfect underdog comeback story is, the image of the Bulgarian Eurovision streak would start popping up. Bulgaria was widely considered to be fan faves every year since their return, and they were at the top of the bookies to win. Not a single entry outside of the top 15. And trust, Bones should have made that top 10. That was a robbery and a half. Same goes for Growing Up is Getting Old. I hate y'all bad for not giving Victoria her flowers.
I don't like none of you motherfuckers, man.
And it was all going all too well to be true. So it ended in 2022 with that horrid song. Horrible, horrible song.
You horrible, horrible girl.
Intelligent music project and intention. Fans hated it, critics panned it, and Bulgaria finished 16th out of 17 entries in semi-final 1. And deservingly so. They should be thankful that the lead singer didn't end up in Spanish jail by the end of it all. Why am I saying this though? Here's the thing, the only interesting part of Bulgaria's IMP participation in 2022 was the allegations that the group bought their way into the contest. But here's the thing, that was not the case only in 2022.
Here's me gagging.
The strategy behind this successful streak was simple but risky. Find a sponsor because the broadcaster BNT was practically about to declare bankruptcy any second. It was the case in 2017 with Sania Armutlieva in Symphonics. Symphonics was also behind this participation of Bulgaria in 2018 and 2016. Not finding a sponsor was quite literally the reason why Bulgaria withdrew from 2019, but came back in 2020 and in 2021. Genoveva Hristova, a successful Bulgarian businesswoman, sponsored Victoria's participation in both years. IMP also entirely funded their participation in Eurovision 2022 in Italy. The radio silence began in 2023 when, unable to find a sponsor, Bulgaria withdrew alongside North Macedonia and Montenegro.
Montenegro,
resulting in a long 3-year break. Interestingly enough, financial difficulties were not even stated as one of the reasons for the country's withdrawal. In its statement, the Bulgarian broadcaster BNT stated that Bulgaria will not be taking a part at Eurovision 2023 and most probably in the future editions as well. After analysis, it was decided that this program does not present an interest for the broadcaster any longer. Convenient. That's the one word I would describe this with, because it's a great excuse to have so you don't put yourself in the uncomfortable position of having to explain why on earth you as the general public broadcaster do not have any funds in the bank whatsoever.
Corruption is not bad. Corruption is only bad
if I'm not involved?
While it's true that BNT's Director General, Kushlukov, was also not particularly interested in Eurovision, that was not the main reason at all. No sponsor means no participation. Kushlukov himself admitted in 2019 that the broadcaster is on the verge of declaring insolvency with nearly 22 million euros in debt.
What? Call it a day, man.
The wind of change started manifesting itself in 2024 when a delegation from Bulgaria was present in Malmö, which included well-known performers and producers. Their main mission was testing the ground for a potential return of the country to the contest, to Eurovision. If the plans came to fruition, the idea was that Bulgaria's return would be permanent. But nothing happened in 2025. Bulgaria remained absent.
Look what you've done, you simpleton!
However, on July 15, 2025, after a decision by the Supreme Administrative Court, the Council of Electronic Media failed to agree on the appointment of a new General Director of BNT. 8 candidates, including Actor Director General Kushlukov, couldn't secure a majority. No abstentions allowed, multiple failed voting rounds. I'm not even going to get into this whole situation as it reeks of corruption. Simply, BNT cannot get rid of Kushlukov, who seems to open court cases left and right in order to avoid the appointment of a new General Secretary of the broadcaster, constantly going against EU law and the European Media Freedom Act.
But if I'm part of that corruption, I'll defend it.
Doesn't matter, super technical. Eventually, there was a dramatic shift in the broadcaster's stance towards Eurovision. BNT's leadership supported a return to Eurovision 3 years after their last entry in 2022. Bam, last week we got struck by quintessentially a hydrogen bomb, aka a totally random and unexpected announcement that Bulgaria is officially returning to Eurovision on the 31st of October. Unexpected? Quite the stretch when I literally called it before it happened. This is why my authority shall never be questioned. Ever.
You know, there's only one person in this world who can tell you what you are. Me. No, me, Sue Sylvester.
Quick sidetrack, if you want me to make a video analyzing the rise, fall and potential rebirth of Bulgaria at Eurovision, let me know because there is so much to talk about.
Who cares? Who cares?
But when it comes to who will be representing the country in the 2026 contest, I might just have the answer for you. Recently, there were some rumors and suggestions that the broadcaster might organize a Bulgarian national final, but I strongly believe that will not happen. So I'm just gonna say it. It's gonna be Mona. There's just no other way. This is set up for her in every possible way, and I mean that in the best way possible. Wait. She went on that delegation trip to Malmö in 2024. She has had many interviews about wanting to represent Bulgaria at the contest.
That I love Eurovision so much. I feel like I'm ready to represent Bulgaria.
And she recently made waves with her single Male, which by the way is eligible to be Bulgaria's 2026 entry, so just saying, I would check it out and keep an eye on it just in case.
I really like this.
And
I really like it.
She's a great upcoming new artist with tons of freshness and uniqueness, so it would be no-brainer that she would be the best fit reasonably to represent the country in Eurovision. However, I could see the band Molets potentially being our entry, but that is a story for another day. I do have to admit that deep down I pray that Mila Robert is gonna be flying the Bulgarian flag. And I promise it's not because I was in one of her music videos. Anyways, enough of this side tangent, that's a story, again, for another episode. Circling back to the 2026 participation, Kushlukov presented Bulgaria's return as a way to support artists and present the country to an audience of millions. Martin Green, the Eurovision new director, celebrated Bulgaria's return, saying it proved that we remain united by music, despite ongoing debates surrounding Israel's participation in next year's contest.
Is she serious?
Many observers believe that the EBU gave some sort of incentives to the Bulgarian delegation, such as discounts or a flexible payment schedules, in order to bring Bulgaria back into the contest. However, knowing the state of BNT, when it comes to monetary means, I hardly doubt that the broadcaster is the one bearing the costs of the participation. So I guess there is a new sponsor, but who exactly this sponsor is, we can only guess. Same goes for the reason why the EBU potentially lowered their participation costs, but we shall return to that a little bit later.
Getting up is all you've got.
Moving on to a country that cannot brag with a good streak, quite the opposite actually, we have Romania.
Romania.
Again, in this case, similarly to Bulgaria, the unstable broadcaster TVR is to blame for the country's recent poor performance and subsequent absence from Eurovision. Public trust in TVR has always been low, tied to corruption, bureaucracy and political influence.
Why have you forsaken me?
In the beginning, in the early 2000s, expectations were sky high. Many thought Romania could win Eurovision and even host it one day. The country even became one of the longest lasting countries to always qualify for the grand final, joining the ranks of countries like Turkey, Ukraine, Greece, but never managed to quite secure the victory, unlike the ones I just mentioned. Despite always qualifying, results didn't match expectations and cracks began to show. Romania arguably suffered a lot from the reintroduction of the juries, which dragged them out of the top 10 several times. Thus, support and public enthusiasm began to wane. Attention shifted to other entertainment platforms, not aired on TVR. Romania's disastrous downhill momentum came in 2016, when, despite selection of an artist and a song less than a month before Eurovision 2016, the EBU expelled Romania due to unpaid debts by TVR.
It is of course disappointing that Romania cannot participate in Eurovision Song Contest in Stockholm. It's disappointing for the artist, it's disappointing for the fans and the viewers in Romania and all over Europe.
TVR started accumulating debts as early as 2007, as their finances relied heavily, and still do, on the government, which is ridiculed from trends of undeniable corruption and mismanagement. Balkans, am I right? It also didn't help that TVR's viewership was dwindling fast and the broadcaster had struggled to even fund their Eurovision entries, though somehow agreements and money were always found. This disqualification broke public faith, and thus the interest of Romanians in Eurovision sharply started to decline.
98% of people.
Romania ranks consistently among the most corrupt nations in Europe. Romanians openly acknowledge this. Everyday corruption, bribery, political manipulation all feed into distrust towards institutions like TVR. These things are what lead to bribery, debts, low payments, corrupt politicians and missing funds, something that influences the national broadcaster and its overall participation in Eurovision.
I'm not gonna take this! You cannot do this!
Results of Romania in the contest have been deeply unsatisfactory as well. Only 2 qualifications in 2017 and 2022 out of 6 participations since 2017. Additionally, the scandal that occurred in 2022 in regards to the Romanian jury being one of the 6 juries whose votes were disqualified due to suspicious voting patterns only further damaged the reputation of TVR and Eurovision amongst the general Romanian public.
What?
Nu cred.
Hell, the bribery scandal even damaged the relations between Romania and Moldova, as it was literally unbelievable that Treneletu, a song in Romanian that celebrated the brotherhood between the two nations, had scored 0 points from the Romanian jury. Consequently, a TV debate was even held regarding Romanian participation in the contest and whether the country shall just forget about Eurovision. And unfortunately, the poll results showed that the majority of the Romanian public were leaning towards withdrawal. Interest was crumbling and even collapsing, and TVR was losing the public. And this all led to the ridiculous embarrassment of the country in Eurovision 2023.
This is disgusting!
Where Romania finished last in its semi-final with 0 points.
I'm really confident that I'll qualify.
Me too.
I don't.
This was because there was nothing good about the entry whatsoever.
Theodore Andre DGT.
The worst Romanian entry of all time.
The national final was incredibly weak. The song was not particularly strong, the artist was good but clearly unexperienced. And when you have such a sinking ship, you gotta pour something into it. Some money, some effort in trying to salvage the whole thing. TVR didn't, however. TVR gave little to nothing to this poor fella who had to work with about 50 euros and a dead horse of a dream to work with. The poor bloke.
Da, dar nu mi-ai zis cum s-a ajuns la aia cu banii și că nu faci tu ce vrei.
Că eu am comentat, că cum să facem asta, că tu nu-ți dai seama că eu cânt 3 minute la o chitară playback. Am experiență. Vine un puș de 18 ani să ne învețe cum să facem treaba.
Are o experiență în a pierde banii oamenilor. Un buget de cât e bugetul ăla, mă? Că mi-ai trimis poză.
E publică.
400.000 de euro aproape, nu? Că atât era, aproape 400.000.
Economic struggle and budget constraints mostly, but also low public interest, led to the country withdrawing from Eurovision in 2024, a decision which extended to the 2025 contest as well. During a press event, TVR president and general director Dan Turturica elaborated on the complex reasons behind the continued withdrawal, stating that a bad relationship between the broadcaster and Romania's music industry, particularly record labels, is additionally a major obstacle. Turturica emphasized that for Romania to consider rejoining Eurovision in the future, several conditions need to be met. Foremost among them is the need to rebuild the relationship between TVR and the country's music industry, alongside the need for a more professional selection process and an artist that would truly represent the top of the Romanian music scene. Whether or not these conditions have been met, we have no fucking clue, but despite this, on October 30th, TVR announced Romania will return for Eurovision 2026 in Vienna after a 2-year break with a renewed strategy and a stronger collaboration with the music industry. The TVR president says that the 2-year break helped the broadcaster understand what needed to change. Most interestingly, however, the president of TVR also stated, "We also appreciate the understanding shown by the European Broadcasting Union, which adapted its invitation for TVR to return to the contest, taking into account the challenges our institution is facing." This means that surely the EBU made an offer to Romania and possibly Bulgaria with lowered participation costs, which makes the whole thing even more suspicious. Cause it isn't one country, it's 2 of them at this point. Moving on to the keyest of the keys, we have North Macedonia. Look, I don't want to shit on this country because God knows the struggle is real, but I'm sorry, North Macedonia cannot do anything successfully, it seems like, in this contest.
I don't like her songs.
Shine your light, go and break the rules, go on now.
Jokes aside, alongside Montenegro and Bulgaria, North Macedonia decided to pull out in 2023 after its participation in 2022, which left the country outside of the final, barely missing out in 11th place in the semi-finals.
Crazy, you don't wanna test my limits. I gave you all, but you're not listening.
North Macedonia officially announced that it will not compete in 2023 due to high costs of participation, as after the exclusion of Russia from the competition due to its genocidal war against Ukraine, some countries have been asked to pay more, North Macedonia being one of them. MRT, the broadcaster of the country, gave the current economic situation as the reason for cancelling their participation. Macedonia will not participate in Eurovision 2023 due to the economic and energy crisis and high costs. The decision to withdraw from Eurovision applies for this year, and we will see what happens in the future. The decision was also confirmed by the General Director of MRT, stating that, yes, we will not participate in Eurovision. We have not paid the registration fee. The biggest problem is electricity and the high costs that will arise from traveling and staying in the UK. Similarly, in 2023, MRT announced that they would not participate in Eurovision 2024 by clarifying that the limited budget which was set aside for the country's 2024 participation has been redirected to other events. The broadcaster left the door to the 2025 contest creaked open a bit, only if circumstances allow, but of course, nothing happened. Nothing ever happens.
Fuck this shit!
Despite the broadcaster and its council agreeing to discuss a potential return in October 2024 upon requests from Macedonian Eurovision fans and support from the council president, on December 12, 2024 they announced that they would also not participate in Eurovision 2025, most definitely due to financial struggles once again. However, unlike the case with Bulgaria and Romania, things surrounding the participation of the country in 2026 remain muddy and just overall strange. Nothing normal ever happens in North Macedonia, I swear to God.
I love Greece! I love Greece! I love you, darling!
In July 2025, Bobby Andonov, a Macedonian-Australian artist and the most successful Macedonian representative at a Eurovision Song Contest event, who achieved 5th place at Junior Eurovision 2008, publicly expressed desire to represent the country at Eurovision 2026 and said he had spoken to the broadcaster. From the looks of it, everything pointed to advanced talks and negotiations with MRT taking place. This was confirmed on September 20th by the broadcaster, who published a proposed work plan for Eurovision 2026. It promised that the editorial board of the country of the broadcaster will consider all factors and make the best decision in accordance with the interests of the public service. The situation was looking increasingly unlikely in regards to a 2026 return, however. Program Council President said a return requires a government-approved budget expansion and that a return in 2027 was more realistic. It is not known whether MRT submitted paperwork to even compete in Eurovision 2026 by the deadline, so this gives them until December to make a final decision on participation. So as of now, we remain clueless in regards to a potential participation of the country in Eurovision 2026. The hope died a bit, however, when the Council of MRT rejected the proposal of Bobby Andonov in October, despite the artist bringing forward a comprehensive proposal and secured funds for participation costs, as an Australian governmental body responsible for authors and composers had agreed to support participation financially and through media coverage. Listen, there is still time, and looking at how rapidly things are moving, I wouldn't be shocked if we saw Macedonia making a comeback, but MRT's own wording frames the choice towards participation looking more likely in regards to the 2027 contest, not next year.
Thank you so much. You're incredible!
Oh god, this hurts so much I cannot even begin to explain. Next we have Bosnia and Herzegovina. And by far they have the direst situation out of all of the countries that have withdrawn in recent years.
I mean, we're not in fucking Bosnia.
So bad I have no clue how they will manage to come back for even one time in the next decade. Bosnia debuted in 1993 and Eurovision is yet to see such a dramatic, painful and still hopeful debut in the contest. In 1993, while Bosnia was in the middle of a brutal war of independence marked by ethnic cleansings and unspeakable crimes against humanity, 6 performers crossed an airport runway near Sarajevo and over Mount Igman in order to represent the war-torn country in Dublin with the song Sva bol svijeta.
Koniec świata.
Sva bol svijeta, jednočas u Bosni.
and the jury vote of Bosnia came in over a screechy satellite phone from a besieged Sarajevo.
Good evening, Sarajevo. May we have your votes, please? Hello, Sarajevo. We're hearing you.
Ever since, the links between music, Eurovision and Bosnian national identity have resonated, and it's still the case. Despite a relatively successful run in the contest, Bosnia and Herzegovina pulled out of Eurovision in 2013 and has since only come back once, with no prospects of a solid return in the future. The last appearance was in 2016, entirely self-funded by the way, with the song Ljubav. Narrowly missing qualification, which should have made the fucking final, but whatever at this point.
I am from Bosnia, take me to America.
Why, you may ask? Why did the country withdraw? The issue is twofold, financial and political. The post-war settlement left a decentralized, dysfunctional, often corrupt system and rival nationalisms in Bosnia. Milorad Dodik, the Bosnian Serb member of the three-person presidency, believes the country should not even exist. He is in charge of the Republika Srpska entity within the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina, where common state symbols are rejected. Flags of the entity fly where the state flags should fly instead. Nationalism is also the reason as to why the public broadcaster barely manages to carry on with its activities. The public broadcaster, BHRT, sits in the middle of this institutional struggle. The broadcaster relies on funding from its citizens via the television license fee, but only half of the viewers actually pay that fee. The reason for this is due to the fact that the nationalist Serb and Croat politicians have encouraged people not to pay the license fee, and the governance system makes enforcement weak. Thus, the result is heavy debt and ineligibility to participate in Eurovision until debts to the EBU are covered. Giving up on Eurovision reflects the state of state-owned television and the state of Bosnia and Herzegovina as a whole. Additionally, the national broadcaster faces financial difficulties, with BHRT suspending all programming temporarily in 2016 due to money walls and facing sanctions from the EBU due to the accumulated unpaid debt. In 2021, BHRT confirmed that they had been under EBU sanctions since 2017 due to debts of around 6 million francs, approximately 5.5 million euros. The sanctions mean that BHRT cannot take advantage of EBU's member services, including participation in Eurovision. It also means that the broadcaster cannot even broadcast Eurovision. In 2024, the debt reached approximately 10 million euros, with the EBU filing lawsuits against BHRT. Several campaigners have attempted to bring Bosnia back to the competition. However, as of the contest in 2026, efforts have been unsuccessful and Bosnia is set to be left out of Eurovision in 2026 again. There have been incredibly important political tension when it comes to the broadcaster and some lawsuits between BHRT and the broadcaster within Republika Srpska regarding those license fees which have not been paid. The Bosnian broadcaster so far looks like they are going to be winning these court proceedings, but the timelines are uncertain as the judicial system in Bosnia and Herzegovina is complicated and oftentimes very corrupt, making predictions about settlements of legal disputes very difficult. If they, however, win these court cases, BHRT might finally be able to cover their debts to the EBU. Meanwhile, skipping Eurovision is read domestically in Bosnia as a concerning sign, a mirror of the state broadcaster's crisis and symbolically of the state's fragility. Moving on, we have a country long forgotten in the contest, Andorra, which participated in Eurovision 6 times between 2004 and 2009, never qualifying for the final, the only country with that record. They withdrew in 2010 during the global economic crisis and haven't returned since. In In 2022, former entrant and vocal advocate Suzanne Georgi claimed she was fighting for Andorra's return, but broadcaster RTVA stated that Eurovision was not on the table and not part of their plans. Suzanne had previously secured a private sponsor and presented a proposal to the Prime Minister and RTVA in 2019, reportedly receiving a verbal green light for Eurovision 2022, but no return was allowed, not in 2022, nor in 2023.
Where is the money?
By 2024, RTV journalists argued that the benefits of returning to the contest should be reconsidered, especially as Luxembourg, a similar small nation in Western Europe, announced its comeback after a 30-year-long absence. In 2025, rumors about a comeback of the country started resurfacing, potentially hinting that Andorra might be back to the 2026 contest through a collaboration with Catalan broadcaster TV3, including the idea that the winner of TV3's show Euphoria could represent Andorra at Eurovision. While presented as a new idea, TV3 had already collaborated with the Andorran broadcaster for the country's debut in 2024. Despite the talks, on the 26th of May 2025, RTVA confirmed that Andorra would not participate in Eurovision 2026.
Maybe next year.
Maybe next year. Up next we have Group B, political withdrawals. Hitting it off we have Hungary. Hungary used to be a regular addition to Eurovision with a stable track record of participation in the contest. Then it all changed. In 2020, Hungary announced it would not participate in Eurovision without giving an official reason. However, we know why. We all know why. We see each other.
There's something wrong with you, Han.
For legal reasons, allegedly, speculations were pointing to the far-right nature of the Hungarian government and the public broadcaster MTVA, and their distaste for anything pro-LGBT. Public media in Hungary is closely linked to the government and has been instrumental in spreading its messages around migration and other issues such as LGBT acceptance. Eurovision was just too gay for Hungary, so it was a chop.
Just gay faggotry that...
The move came amid an increase in homophobic rhetoric in Hungary, where the anti-migration PM, Viktor Orban, launched a family-first policy aimed at helping traditional, whatever the fuck that means, families and boosting birth rates. Homophobic rhetoric intensified in public media. Andras Benks, sorry, my Hungarian is horrific.
Dyslexia.
An editor for a pro-governmental magazine and frequent TV commentator referred to Eurovision as a homosexual flotilla, adding that many young people thought that it is something for people under 18, but at this event, the destruction of public taste takes place with screaming transvestites and bearded women. Bros said not participating would benefit the nation's mental health. Again, what does that even mean? I swear to God, then these people are the ones to get caught attending gay orgies in Budapest in their spare time, but whatever, that's a topic for another day. Orban's spokesman dismissed these rumors as fake news, but refused to offer an alternative explanation as to why the country decided to withdraw from Eurovision. In an emailed statement to The Guardian, MTVA said, "Instead of taking part in the Eurovision Song Contest in 2020, we will support the valuable productions created by the talents of Hungarian pop music directly." Adau, Hungary's former national final, ceased to be used as such, and from 2020 onwards, no winner of the competition has waved the country's flag in Eurovision.
Fuck you!
Hungarian fans were left furious with the decision, and especially when the broadcaster MTVA refused to give a reason for the withdrawal. The issue was even raised in parliament, however the government refused to comment on the issue, stating that the government does not control public media decisions. Sure, Jan, we all fell for that.
Is she serious?
Since 2020, nothing has seemingly changed. The Orban regime remains in power. The violence and discrimination against minorities and LGBT people has seen an increase, with attacks on LGBTQ+ film events, and even Coca-Cola getting fined for showing an ad that featured a gay couple as main examples of this whole political narrative. Additionally, officials maintain links with Russian ultra-conservatives promoting anti-LGBT policies. However, there might be a prospect of the country making a comeback with new elections approaching Hungary. In 2025, at a campaign rally, Peter Magyar, leader of the opposition Tisza party, publicly pledged to bring Hungary back to Eurovision if he becomes prime minister, and if his party wins the upcoming general elections set to take place in April 2026, saying that it's wrong that we do not participate and we shouldn't have withdrawn. I agree with Russia's exclusion. We shouldn't allow any war criminal to participate. So this is what will happen. If it's in the hands of the government, we will go on with it. If Magyar were to become prime minister in April 2026, Hungary would likely return to Eurovision in 2027. Magyar's comments and current performance in the opinion polls do give hope that Hungary will return to the contest in the near future. Up next, we have one of the former powerhouses of Eurovision, Turkey. Turkey, a country where prior to its withdrawal, its Eurovision scene was flourishing. Eurovision was extremely popular and the country achieved wonderful results and gave Europe unforgettable entries such as Manga, and Hades. God, I fucking love that song, but anyways.
Oh, honestly, how many orgasms can you have on a 3-minute track?
The country even hosted the contest in 2004 in Istanbul after winning Eurovision 2003 with Sertab, one of the most legendary winners of all times. Despite all this, in December 2012, TRT, the Turkish broadcaster, announced withdrawal from Eurovision 2013. The official reasons for this withdrawal were A. the reintroductions of the jury and the overwhelming Turkish disapproval of the 50-50 jury televote system, and reason B. opposition to the automatic qualification of the Big Five countries. Behind these reasonable arguments, behind the country's departure from Eurovision, it all quickly became political. In 2013, TRT stopped broadcasting the competition. It is thought that they performed this move after the Finnish performance featured a same-sex kissing couple. After Conchita's win in 2014, TRT and conservative figures within Turkish political society publicly condemned Eurovision. TRT called Conchita's victory and appearance unethical and against family values and Islam, with some officials chiming in and saying that Turkey could not participate in an event where a man with a beard in a dress performs. Failure to respect religious norms was one more reason for Turkey not longer participating in Eurovision. However, public figures and artists in the country have long been calling on the broadcaster to return to Eurovision, with 2003 winner Sertab saying that Eurovision is a beautiful stage to share Turkish culture with the world. I think we definitely should return. A glimmer of hope appeared in 2022, with the general director of TRT announcing that we are talking with Eurovision again. A very good person from Northern Europe has taken charge. Thus, negotiations with the EBU were officially confirmed, but sadly they led to little to no resolution. Following Switzerland's victory in Eurovision 2024 with Nemo, this prospect of a Turkish return became even less likely, as President Erdogan condemned the contest. Eurovision is full of Trojan horses of social corruption. It's impossible to meet a normal person at these events. We made the right decision keeping Turkey out of this disgraceful competition for 12 years. He accused Eurovision of promoting gender neutralization and threatening the traditional family.
Beyond abysmal.
This just reaffirmed that as long as the Erdogan government is in charge of the country and has an influence on the public broadcaster, this country will not be returning. Let's not forget that he is known for liking authoritarianism a little bit too much, and one of his aims being the wide-scale reintroduction of Islamization of Turkish society that once was considered widely secular.
Lord help me, please hold my tongue, don't let me say no bad word.
With the current conservative government in office in Turkey until the 2028 elections, it will be quite the surprise if Erdogan changes his mind about Eurovision. While it is held by many fans, me included, trust that we may see Turkey return to Eurovision in the future, in the current political environment, it looks very unlikely. Also, let's not forget that if Israel does not get the boot this year, regardless of how genuine its support for Palestine is, joining Eurovision now would be bad PR for Turkey. This is not only because they would be joining a competition held by an institution that has gone out of its way to protect Israel multiple times, but also because some participating countries could raise concerns about Turkey being equal to Israel and Russia.
Thank you!
Okay, we have Morocco next. Do I even have to explain this one? Morocco is basically the ghost of Eurovision. They showed up once in 1980 with Samira Ben Said. They finished last and they vanished forever. Only African country to ever compete, first sing in Arabic and then poof, gone. With the wind. Here are the 3 reasons why we're never say never, but we're not getting Morocco back in Eurovision anytime soon. Reason 1. Israel exists. Morocco doesn't recognize Israel and fully supports Palestine. The only reason they joined in 1980 was because Israel skipped that year. Israel said that they were gonna compete in 1981 and Morocco said that they're not gonna be there anymore. So as long as Israel's in, Morocco's out. End of story. Reason 2, money. Eurovision is so incredibly expensive lately, with even rich European countries sometimes crying and whining about participation fees. Meanwhile, SNRT, Morocco's only EBU member, is struggling with low budget, low ratings, and just reruns of programs that nobody is watching in Morocco. They're not exactly funding rockets or LED stages or anything anytime soon, so they do not have money to compete in Eurovision anyways. And third, we have public reaction. Most Moroccans do not even know what Eurovision is, and those who do mostly know it through French media, which hates it. Plus, many think it clashes with Morocco Muslim values, you know, the whole gayness of it all. So yeah, Morocco in Eurovision is just not gonna happen, don't count on it, forget about it. Finally, we have Group C. Temporary withdrawal or other non-participation, and we're hitting off with Moldova. Okay, back to our silliest Eurovision country of all time, my faves, Moldova. This was the most obvious returnee to Eurovision 2026, but still, let's talk about what went down with last year, because god, it's absolutely hilarious. For the first time since its debut in 2005, Moldova withdrew from Eurovision in 2025, with TRM announcing on January 22nd that the broadcaster is cancelling both Moldova's 2025 participation as well as its national final that year, Etapa Națională. TRM cited economic, artistic and administrative challenges, saying the decision followed a detailed analysis of the current situation. Basically a summary of this. They withdrew because they had not a single good song in their national final, which I'm sorry, but Moldova's head of delegation, Corneliu Durnescu, however, also reported deeper concerns regarding the country's participation in Eurovision and the need for reforms. Some of the reasons for this need for a reform were the decreased public interest and the declining song quality in the national selection, as well as the negative perception among industry experts and viewers, and of course, having nothing to send to the 2025 contest that would make the final and justify the participation fee of nearly 22 1,000 euros. Interestingly, as the cancellation of the 2025 national final became public, one of the participants, and arguably the one who had the most okay entry, Baciu, revealed that they had been offered sponsorship which could have enabled Moldovan participation in Eurovision 2025. Baciu was by far the favorite to win Etapa Națională last year with the song Semafoare. Eu nu observ culorile la semafoare. Despite having the funds to cover all Eurovision expenses, after his team reached out to TRM, the broadcaster refused to reverse his decision, thus denying Baciu's offer.
You're joking.
On September 30th, 2025, in Chișinău, the Moldovan broadcaster held discussions with Moldovan artists and producers regarding a potential return for Eurovision, with discussions focusing on the format of the national selection, potential changes to the rules, promotion strategies, and support measures for participants. This clearly signaled that the country was heading towards a return to the contest in 2026. It all became, however, official when TRM officially announced that Moldova will return to Eurovision 2026.
Like I actually had my body had a reaction with those tests.
At the press conference, TIM also announced a new selection format following the consultation process. Sadly, this means that this year we won't be able to watch the live auditions as they will be held privately for the first time since 2015, which is an absolute tragedy and an absolute travesty. I cannot even begin to imagine a world in which I will not be seeing Tudor Bombac on my screen. Shame on you, Moldova, for fuck's sake. Also, who the fuck needs Etapa Națională to happen in Chișinău Arena, which is an arena, not a TV studio? I have no clue, but those Bucharest-Chișinău Soviet sleeper train tickets are getting booked for January. I can tell you I'm not gonna miss that shit. All jokes aside, Moldova constitutes such an important part of Eurovision. They're the charming and endearing underdogs that, despite being the poorest country in Europe, always serve a great show. Moldova needs Eurovision and Eurovision needs Moldova. And Moldova, in light of their current institutional struggles when it comes to interference from abroad and their fight to be a part of the broader European family, deserves to be present on the biggest stage. And the fact that they put so much emphasis on quality, credibility and public trust is honestly commendable. Okay, here we go again. Of course we're talking about Slovakia. Honestly, my relationship with this fuck-ass country is just something else. This is not an invitation to now mention the clip of me thirsting over Adonis. Stop it immediately, we're not doing this again. I have been haunted by the stupid clip. Enough. I want to living out me. Everything. I want him to Slovak check. Hunter. I don't care. I need to. Back to the conversation. Slovakia's absence is just sad. Despite having a relatively disastrous run in the contest, Slovakia last participated in Eurovision 2012. And since we have not seen them come back, they were honestly robbed in 2010. Horechroni, I'm sorry, should have been a part of the top 10 this year.
He's got to be the winner. Sorry, Shah.
Not out of the final, and I'm not saying this just because it brings back memories. Anyways.
Najkrajšie stromy sú na Horechroni, to tiché bratstvo praví poď.
The main reason as to why the country has been absent for 14 years is due to the low viewership and both broadcaster and public's low interest in the contest, alongside some financial struggles as well, of course, because why not sprinkle them in?
Truth of the matter is, you and you know you.
On the 19th of May 2023, the Slovak broadcaster RTVS officially confirmed the reason. Participation is too expensive, viewership is low, and RTVS doesn't have the resources. RTVS simply cannot afford it at the cost of low payoff in terms of viewership figures. Music experts have stated that the broadcaster is underfunded, and if RTVS were to return to Eurovision, the participant would likely need to fund themselves as opposed to relying on the broadcaster's funds, similarly to what happened with the country's participation in 2012. In August 2023, there was a slight glimmer of hope, only slight, as the Slovak government changed RTVS's funding model. Instead of relying on TV license fees, roughly 46 million euros were pumped into the broadcaster. This opened the possibility for a return to the contest as soon as 2025. However, Director General of RTVS described this change as not enough to reach the station's strategic goals.
Clearly the struggle is real.
And as hopes were rising, ding dong, they fell again. On April 8, 2024, RTVS confirmed Slovakia would not participate in Eurovision 2025, citing budget cuts and low interest, despite the Director General actively looking to bring the country back to the competition. In 2025, RTVS was restructured into ASTV Air, Slovak Television and Radio, and this change led to the broadcaster revealing that Eurovision participation would be reassessed, despite remaining not greatly optimistic. However, despite Slovakia not closing the door to a future participation in Eurovision and trying its hardest to make it happen, on July 23rd, ASTV Air affirmed that it had evaluated Eurovision but ruled it out very early and officially announced that Slovakia would not compete in Eurovision 2026. Ironically, Czechia's 2025 entry, Adonis, being a Slovak artist and also my future husband.
Don't you ever shut up!
With that, there was a possibility that he would generate, that participation would generate a huge discussion about a potential return of Slovakia, boosting public enthusiasm. But a momentum big enough was not reached to change the broadcaster's decision. There's also a political undertone to this whole mess. Much like Hungary, Slovakia has seen a far-right government consolidate power. Public broadcasters are under pressure, and Eurovision, often associated with democratic liberal values, it's not a political priority in the slightest.
Thank you.
And wrapping up this segment of the video, we have Monaco. Okay, this is a weird one now. Monaco, the tiny kingdom of tax evasion, first entered Eurovision in 1959 and even won in 1971. Then they pissed out in 1980, came back from 2004 to 2006, failed to qualify every single time and vanished again. Why? Because the broadcaster TMC merged with the French giant TF1, thus losing EBU membership, and suddenly Monaco had no way into Eurovision. No broadcaster, no infrastructure, no entry, not bitches, no nothing, just poshness and black caviar, I guess.
Jealous?
Fast forward to 2022, Monaco randomly drops 100,000 euros in the national budget for a Eurovision comeback plan and announces a shiny new public broadcaster, TV Monaco. It finally launched in September 2023, became an official EBU member in 2024, and its boss, Natalie Biancholi, even landed a seat on the EBU executive board, making it all seem like Monaco was about to come back just as its other posh sister Luxembourg. So naturally, everybody thought we would get Monaco in last year's Eurovision, but no, they didn't even apply.
I do not plan on losing anything.
I lost.
Too many technical and logistical issues were the reason as to why we didn't even see them. But still, they did broadcast Eurovision 2025 for the first time since 2006, so at least that's something. Recently, and now the Monegasque government says TV Monaco and Monaco Info, the two main TV channels within Monaco, will be merged into yet another new broadcaster in September 2025. No one knows what's happening with EBU membership or logistics, but hey, the enthusiasm is there, and that's basically half of Eurovision anyways, I think. I don't know what will happen. If you couldn't tell from this long sequence, the main burden of this withdrawal crisis has been borne by Eastern Europe. Let's see how the statistics of Eastern European participation in Eurovision have changed over the years. The peak was reached in 2016, 2017 and 2018 when 17 out of 19 eligible countries participated. And then we have been witnessing a steady pattern of withdrawal. In 2024 and 2025, the last two contests, Eastern European participation in Eurovision reached an all-time low, with only 11 out of 19 eligible countries participating. Nearly half of Eastern Europe has not been represented in Eurovision in the past 2 years. This is a worrying tendency. The overarching reason as to why this crisis has occurred is due to the fact that many Eastern European broadcasters, Bulgaria, Moldova, Montenegro, are state-funded and financially fragile. Many of these broadcasters, for example Bulgaria and Romania, have been involved in massive corruption scandals, and the fact that Eurovision has been getting more expensive over the years has not helped at all. Participation in the recent editions of Eurovision requires a participation fee which can range from 100,000 to 300,000 euros. And on top of that, the cost of staging as well as the costs regarding delegations such as promotion, wardrobe, team, travel costs, accommodation, these often exceed 500,000 euros per participation in Eurovision. On top of that, even more, add the fees around the broadcasting rights to even air the contest. Participation in one edition of Eurovision can easily amount to more than €1 million, and when a broadcaster faces administrative and economic challenges, it becomes unthinkable to splurge out this much. Paired with low viewership figures and low public interest, there is just no reason to participate in a contest which has no desire to accommodate for the needs of the country. Low public figures can also be due to the fact that instead of actively promoting participation in Eurovision and promoting the contest and aiming at building enthusiasm and excitement within society, these broadcasters spend all their time, money and energy in trying to scrape together €2 so they do not have to declare insolvency. Debt is such an easy thing for a broadcaster to accumulate, and many of these Eastern European countries have done exactly that, accumulated massive debt to the EBU, as it's the case in Bosnia and Herzegovina. While Western nations have commercial support in larger markets, Eastern broadcasters often rely on sponsors, and when these fail, they ultimately simply withdraw from the contest altogether. Political instability in the region also does not help. In many Eastern European countries, public broadcasters are heavily tied to governmental policy. And while it is true that in each and every country in Europe, broadcasters tend to not publicly go against the government of the country, in the case of Eastern Europe, countries that are faced with ruling parties that lean nationalist, conservative or Eurosceptic, these public broadcasters just cannot do whatever they want, as they're most often ruled by people who have connections to these politicians, aka the ruling class of these countries. We can see that unfolding right in front of our very eyes. Countries like Hungary and Turkey just flat out refuse public money for frivolous cultural events that go against their main policies, which tend to clash with Eurovision as it promotes LGBT propaganda or Western decadence. These countries, these governments see Eurovision as an ideological threat, leading to them forcing broadcasters to withdraw and ignore all the benefits that countries get from Eurovision, such as exposure to the country and its culture, and especially music scene. And while the EBU has not been asked to try and help Eastern Europe in achieving a better financial status as to facilitate for a permanent Eurovision participation, it also does not help that there's a growing sentiment of Eurovision is Western controlled among both broadcasters and fans. I'm sorry, but the new voting system proves faulty, and I have talked about this many times before. But with semifinals being controlled entirely by the televote and the public, smaller countries such as Montenegro, Czechia and let's say North Macedonia are ultimately disadvantaged and ultimately damaged when it comes to competition. And when the final is full of televote bait, it's no brainer that juries will massively try to boost safer Western European entries, as we saw this year with Austria winning the whole contest because of the jury points. This system just does not work, especially in the Eastern European context. Smaller nations feel like fillers rather than actual contenders for the victory. The last time an Eastern European country won was 4 years ago, Ukraine with Kalish Orchestra, and it does not help that out of the last 10 winners, only 2 have been entries from Eastern Europe. And while I am the biggest defender of the juries, and I have screamed at length about how even the concept of removing them altogether would be the dumbest mistake ever taken, it is true that a reform needs to take place. Juries tend to disregard more ethnic, more experimental entries, the main example being Albania and Zerum this year. They do not have an authenticity criteria when assessing entries that would ensure such important songs with such heavy cultural aspects do not get overlooked for simply being a tad bit harder to digest by Western experts. And I do have to admit, when I saw how it didn't even matter that Albania cracked top 5 with the televote because the juries put them in 16th place, I couldn't help but feel like it was all for nothing and that we're never gonna win the contest again. An Eastern European country is never gonna win the contest again. It is stupid, I know, especially when you have a bigger fish to fry on your plate right now. But when you remember what type of songs have won in the last 3 Eurovision editions, you kind of start spiraling and overthinking it. There is a clear cultural and mentality divide. Locked in. Eastern European countries often send music rooted in local language, folk elements. These aren't always jury friendly. Meanwhile, Western nations can afford risky or avant-garde or sophisticated stagings, backed by larger budgets and marketing. This Eastern Europe can hardly do. And what gets created is a clash between Eastern identity versus Western jury taste, meaning, equation, cultural preferences, biased results, plus Eastern countries feel systematically disadvantaged. Feeling disadvantaged leads to withdrawal or loss of interest. And I don't have to name you countries because we just went over them, and this trend will keep continuing. And we reach the most crucial and potentially devastating point of this video, 2026. 2026 is shaping to be a defining moment in Eurovision history, quite literally make or break type of deal. After having enough of being puppets in a theater that was used for sharing Israeli propaganda narratives, and after a widespread wave of international condemnation of the country for their actions in Gaza, which breached many legally binding aspects of international law, broadcasters have called on the EBU to exclude Israel. Despite postponing the vote that was supposed to take place in November regarding Cannes and whether they should be disqualified from Eurovision 2026 for putting the image of the contest into disrepute, the EBU postponed it to December. And I cannot lie, it does look like this step was done on purpose, as to wait to see whether the ceasefire in Gaza would alleviate the pressure on the Union to exclude Israel from the contest. As host nation broadcaster, Austria's ORF faces the prospect of organizing the Eurovision event in Vienna while navigating the pressure from both proponents of exclusion and from countries that view Israel's participation as essential to the contest's neutrality. Austrian news outlets have also reported that some of the political figures in the country have threatened that Austria might withdraw from hosting if Israel were excluded. It remains uncertain whether the vote will take place as originally planned, and if it does, what the outcome of it will be. We know one thing for sure, however: someone will not be flying to Vienna. While we can remove Moldova from the equation as they were always going to be coming back to Eurovision 2026, it is rather strange how Bulgaria and Romania managed to find a way out of basically nowhere to cover the fees related to returning to Eurovision. While regarding Bulgaria, it might just be the case that a sponsor funded the whole thing. Let's not forget that many Bulgarian artists have been in the talks of representing the country in Eurovision if it returns. The situation in Romania is not the same. It might be the case that Martin Green and the EBU officials personally contacted these broadcasters and offered personal discounts and extended payment schedules, which would ease the fees on the countries related to coming back. We cannot know for certain as little to no details have been shared publicly, but that is a growing concern. Many countries have officially stated that if Israel does not get the boot, they will withdraw from Eurovision 2026, no matter what ceasefire, no matter anything. We might be heading off towards a reality in which Eurovision Eurovision has no entries from the Netherlands, Spain, Slovenia, Ireland, Belgium and Iceland, 6 whole countries withdrawing would be disastrous for the contest, both in a reputational and a monetary sense. Spain, as one of the big 5 countries alongside the Netherlands and Ireland, contribute a massive amount of funding towards Eurovision. Losing them in addition to other 3 countries would be catastrophic for the event, as who is gonna pay for the contest? How is the EBU going to replace the massive viewer markets in Spain and the Netherlands? Yes, if the EBU keeps Israel in the contest, they risk losing multiple countries at once, so bringing countries back like Romania, Bulgaria, Moldova, etc. would balance out the exodus and protect Eurovision's image as a global event. That might be the case. Yes, at first glance, it does seem like the EBU is trying its best to preserve the 2 semi-final format of the contest by bringing in these countries that would quite essentially fill the gaps left by the 6 countries that I just mentioned withdrawing. But think about it, that might not be the case. I'm sorry, but the viewership basin in Bulgaria, Moldova and Romania is not even enough to cover the absence of Spanish or Dutch viewers in the contest. Let's put things into perspective. In 2021, Bulgaria, Romania and Moldova had collectively approximately 450,000 viewers of Eurovision. Meanwhile, Spain, on the other hand, had 4 million. The Netherlands had 5.4 million. It's not even comparable. It does seem like the EBU is trying to do damage control by bringing back these countries, but if it is done as to preserve the inclusion of Israel in the contest, it will hardly do anything. Which leads me to believe that they might be doing it as to compensate for the lack of Israel in next year's contest. Call it wishful thinking, but I think that might be the case.
It's the Bulgarian clown in you. Okay.
Israeli viewership of Eurovision 2025 was around 670,000. If that's missing next year due to the country getting disqualified, the participation of Moldova, Romania and Bulgaria could easily fill that gap. Easily. Additionally, Israel getting kicked out would inevitably lead to intense political discord, and the EBU might want to soften the blow by announcing returning countries to the grand 70th anniversary of the contest. It wouldn't be a grand 70th anniversary of the contest, however, if 3 of the biggest contributors to it and 2 of the biggest viewership markets of the contest are completely missing. That would be the best outcome of this whole discourse, but everything remains uncertain for now. Just because we're focusing on Eurovision 2026 doesn't mean that this conversation should just end there. Eastern Europe needs representation at Eurovision. Eastern Europe being a region that constantly faces threats to its own existence by genocidal maniacs and constantly having to face interference, propaganda narratives, so many of these things needs a platform to show that these countries do exist and they're separate, they're individual countries with their own perspective, with their own history, with their own culture, with their own sound. Monetary means cannot be the only thing driving Eurovision. One thing from this conversation and from the overarching topic is clear, however. The prospect of the EBU tokenizing Eastern European countries and treating their difficulties and struggles to find a voice in Eurovision as a tool for washing their hands of the complicity in keeping Israel in Eurovision, despite their rigging tactics and political weaponization of the contest to spread political narratives, would be preposterous. It would not be fair to Eastern European countries, it would not be fair to us Eastern Europeans. We do not wish for our countries to return to the contest in this way. If Eurovision truly stands for unity and fairness, then it must start by treating every nation, big or small, Western or Eastern, with equal dignity, not as a convenient shield for controversy.
Spread the love to the world.
Thank you, dear people.